From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Welcome back, and we have a bonus episode today.
Yes, sir.
So, first off, I'm Mike. I'm joined today by Matt.
Hello.
And Jill.
Hey.
And our special guest is LaDon.
Hi.
And so I'm going to let, as all with bonus episodes, try to do as little talking and let the guests talk. So I'm going to let Jill introduce LaDon. It can be a big one, one of these 55-minute introductions.
That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, that's what everybody hopes for. or you can just tell her story for her, you know.
Even better.
But Jill's going to introduce them. It can be as long as you want or short as you want, but have at it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen and whomever else, we have LaDon from Shreveport.
Here she is.
Here she is. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So I guess what I'm supposed to do here is tell you what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I don't do a lot of preparation for these things anymore because I really try to get out of the way and let God do what he needs to do for whatever anyone else needs to hear, not what I think they need to hear. Which generally means that right now I have a good amount of nerves, but that'll go away in a second. And I'll have to drink water from time to time. So just bear with me.
Matt's good with filling in empty time.
Awesome. Yeah. Huh? So, I was born some years back, none of your business. And, I remember it was March 22nd. I will tell you that, the first full day after, spring has arrived and it snowed. And so I guess that just pretty much sums up how life has been, a snowy day on a spring day. My dad thought it was quite the omen. He loved to tell that story over and over again. I was born here in Louisiana, in Ruston, and my family was from Jonesboro Hodge.
Yeah.
And big city, very sophisticated. Mm-hmm. And my mom and my dad, it was my mom's first marriage. I think my mom was 18, 19. That's how they did things back many years ago. And my dad's second marriage. So I was kind of really just born right into that whole, my normal wasn't what everybody else's normal was at that particular time. There weren't a lot of kids that I went to school with who had divorced parents or parents with other marriages. And so it was kind of a thing, I've been, I'm pretty much, my story is going to be a lot like everybody else's at that particular time. I just always had, just felt different, just felt a little different. I was really sensitive, just kind of super unique. I would rock myself to sleep. I could not eat certain foods. That was a big issue in our home. And I've gotten some self-knowledge on those things today. So it really wasn't my fault, but it was really difficult to experience. And it was also really difficult for my family to even understand or begin to understand how to deal with a kid who was a little more sensitive, who would only eat one or two items, would only drink chocolate milk, and would, just completely a difficult little precious child. And then, the thing is, my mom was really young. My dad was in his 30s, and he wanted to just go to work and just, he's ready to really settle it on down. And my mother was not. So their marriage did not last long. I think I was about 5 when they split up. And my mother was not faithful. And I was privy to some of that at times. And also she was unfaithful. Now, we live in a small town in Louisiana. She dated some black men. And that was, here we go again. I mean, it was just something. I did not have a terrible childhood. I was treated very well. I was I wasn't impoverished. I had a ton of grandparent involvement, which is just primo, if you ask me. I had siblings that were half siblings. I had family members who would go on little feuds and not speak to each other. But it was, I don't know. It wasn't terrible. It was just my norm. And, but we were always a little not the norm with everybody else at school, right? It was just a little to the right or a little to the left of what everything else was going on. So, and when you're a kid who already just feels different, and then there are so many differences, I think that just does kind of just breeds a little insecurity and fear, Gosh, I just remember being afraid from the get, afraid of the water, afraid of the dark, afraid of the ball. I didn't like to play sports with balls because it just hit me in my face every time, and I've got glasses, I'm a little kid with glasses, just a lot of fears going on. And, excuse me, you know how it is when we tell our story, we get the little dry mouth. I don't know, recently I'm back in grad school and I'm in a psych class, and we talk a lot about temperament. And, when I first heard alcoholism in general, you hear it's a family disease, it's genetic, you're born with it. And I really struggled with that when when my alcoholism appeared. And then, of course, I tried to get over it. That just seemed super foreign to me. And, and like how certain kids can be in a certain situation and not be of a temperament to, or addicted, or some can. And just always, like, I'm obviously very much in my brain all the time and always trying to figure it out. And what I know is I just came here with a temperament. And what I've known now since just some genetic testing is I have a couple of mutations, and I'm like 96% Irish, so pretty much
there you go.
I arrived alcoholic. So I was a fearful kid. There was a lot of chaos and dysfunction in my family, but nothing extreme. It just wasn't extreme, but it was certainly dysfunctional. I did really well in school. I had a lot of friends. I did also have trouble sometimes with friendships, feeling less than, feeling better than from the get. I remember that. I was really watched out after. My grandmother was the cafeteria lady. She was over the school cafeterias, and so she just went from school to school with me. And honestly, my grandparents at that age, a young age, if it had not been for them, if it just had not been for them. So we move from Jonesboro Hodge to Shreveport when I'm in about 5th grade because because they're fighting. The parents are divorced. They're fighting. It's crazy. And so we move over here. Well, of course, I'm living in a city. I am from Jonesboro Hodge. I've been playing outside barefoot for years. And it's a little different. But also it was really kind of cool because we lived at first in an apartment complex, man, and there were kids everywhere. So always had somebody to play with, and that was a lot of fun. My grandmother, again, just the center of that home, and even the center of a lot of the kids in the neighborhood. She just kind of became it for us. Because a lot of kids, parents are working, single parent families. It was just, she was the center. And so those were some really good years. Went through, I was just a good kid. I was always had my ass in trouble, though, it seemed like, from my mom. It was just, I was always getting it. And, but I was such a good kid. Like, I would go and hang out with the kids that were smoking cigarettes, but I didn't smoke the cigarettes or smoking them. I did not do it. I was hanging out with them because that's who there was to hang out with, but I didn't do those things. But because I was 5 minutes late coming in, you would have thought, I would just get it for any little thing. I understand, I think, a little bit more about my mom today. So I have some understanding of it. But she was the adult child of 2 alcoholic addicts, and she was a rager and, and just highly controlling. And you just walked on eggshells. That's just the way it was. And so I just remember thinking, like, let me get through this. Like, Jesus. I learned to comply to get by, not cause a lot of trouble, get quiet, do what was asked of me, and work around it just to survive it, honestly, because again, like I said, I was really sensitive and I just did not do well with the yelling. So I was just always trying to anticipate those things. And I remember finally getting there my senior year in high school, and I'm working. It's the summer before I go to college. I'm working at Grandy's, wearing my little kerchief and stuff. Yeah. Oh, and I do remember it's when I had like this really big moment of knowing I will go to college because this is hard. I don't want to stand on my feet all day and deal with people. And we got into it about something, and she was just taunting me and doing something in front of my aunt. They really, like to do that. And I finally said, "Stop it, I hate you," and I got kicked out of the house. How about that? Kicked out. So
How old were you?
18.
Okay.
About to go to college. So I went and stayed with my best friend's parents for a little bit, and then I don't know. Anyway, that's how we started. That's how I went off to college. In college, I started some drinking. I just didn't do it when I lived in the house with my mother. Can you blame me? Like, literally, if I left the milk out or made a mistake, it was hell to pay. I certainly wasn't going to go that far with any of it. And I'd seen alcoholism in my family. My Uncle Grover, my mama used to have to go and get him. My papa, Albert, he was often taken to sleep it off in jail, and very much the Otis and the Andy Griffin kind of thing. So I'd seen some things, and people, drank beer. My papa went to the VFW every night, but, it was just standard. I just really didn't like it. I wasn't really comfortable around it. So when I went to college, of course, though, it was, it was the thing to do. And it's the thing I did. I maintained decent grades. I drank. I started working this summer camp in Arkansas that had a really powerful impact on my life, Camp Ozark. And so I would kind of rein in my drinking, and then I would crank it back up, rein it in, crank it back up. Again, just got my marketing degree and went to Dallas when I graduated, trying to I was super creative, but like not really great I'm not an extrovert by any means. And of course, when you had a marketing degree in the early 90s, they wanted you to sell things. And that was just not for me. But I'm going to tell you guys, that was the most terrifying time of my life. Like this idea that I had to leave, school, I knew what to expect. Even in college, there was a degree of familiarity. I'm just over in Ruston. My grandparents are right down the road. I'm there with my childhood best friend. There's a lot of familiarity. I'm doing well in those environments. But now I'm supposed to go out and become employed and an adult. And honest to God, I had no idea how to do any of that. But also it was very important that you did not know that I did not know how to do any of that. So I masked a whole lot of issues that I had with communicating, with relationships, with taking on daily responsibilities. I did not have a lot of room growing up to have my own identity. You just kind of, like I said, I complied to get by. And so I didn't know what was going on with me. I thought, what the heck is wrong with me? Everybody else is going on. I mean, it is a big deal. It's a transition. But I was paralyzed. Talk about anxiety attacks. Just difficult to do. And so I'd worked at that summer camp. Oh my God, I loved it every summer when I was in college. And again, what was familiar to me was going to school. So my boyfriend was still back at Tech, and so I decided to just cut my losses and go back and get another degree in education. And that's what I did. To me, it's kind of like I had to go back like I'd been prematurely born to the earth, into the world, and
Not ready yet.
not ready. And I needed to go back and do something that I felt like I could do. And so that's kind of the route I went there. I went into education. Relationships, I had some. That's about it. And then I graduated from education, and again, the time came again. And the job that I found was in New Orleans. And I went down there and got a job. And again, terror, absolutely terrified. I took some Xanax off and on in my teenage and college years. I could not go through a breakup without a week's worth. I could not go. My anxiety was all over the place. And so that's how they treated it. And so that's kind of how I got through that first year down in New Orleans. I met a lot of great friends. And finally it became okay. Finally I became all right in those environments and able to take care of myself. I still went back home a lot, which is so, bizarre because it's just so complicated back at home. But went back home a lot and was in New Orleans for about 3 years. And my best friend had moved in with me, and she was going back to Shreveport. And I had been back up there a few times and had a really good, this is what I based this decision on, a couple of things, y'all. It's really important. I based my decision to come back to Shreveport on when we would come back and go out. I had such a good time.
That's important.
I saw everybody that I knew. It was very different than going out in New Orleans, And I just liked that homey feel to my partying environment. And also we were at the, who was it? Oh, gosh, I can't think of their Pink Floyd concert. And I'd had a little bit of marijuana and had what I called a spiritual experience, which then said I should go home. Okay, there you have it. That's why I decided to pack up and leave New Orleans and come back to Shreveport. And I taught here. I taught in Shreveport for some years. And I did all the things I was supposed to do, y'all. Like I did, I was a good kid. I did go out on the weekends, but I wasn't a drinker Monday through Thursday, in my defense, okay? I did have to get up and go to work. I had some relationships that just was hard. I just could not figure out why it was so hard. I could not get intimate. And I don't mean in the sexual way. That part was not the problem. Just seriously being able to let down the guard. I was hyper vigilant all the time. And I had no idea what that meant. It almost makes me want to cry. I had no idea what that meant, where it came from, why it was. But it is literally how I proceeded through everything in my life. Just completely wound tight, hyper vigilant. And it was a problem. So I don't have a whole lot that went on there in my 20s. I had some relationships, and they didn't always work. And I taught school. I finally, at some point, decided I started running. And I started putting in some miles. And then I started doing 5Ks. And then I would do, 10Ks, and then I was running 6 miles a day. That was just the given. And so drinking really fell to the wayside with that. Also, some of my friends are going on, y'all. Like they're moving on to long-term relationships, considering getting married, having children, all these things I wanted to be able to do. Now, I wanted to be so normal and so simple, just like everybody else, but I do not cook. Food is weird to me. And, I'm just not, I'm great with kids. Like I had that covered, but couldn't really seem to just stay and get really where I needed to get in a relationship where I was completely myself. Like I could not do it. So I'd sabotage it every time. It had to go. So the thing I want so much, I cannot have, and it's my own fault. And I don't know what to do about that. So I am frustrated. I don't understand. I am hitting this wall in life and I'm running all these miles and I'm doing all this stuff. And I remember just being like, I don't get it. I've done everything I can do. I had a master's degree at this time. I'm working a couple of jobs. I'm being a good daughter because I have parents whose health are going down and I'm trying to show up and help them. And then I got sick. I had a mass. I had started having some pain in my leg and I had a mass in my abdomen. And it was found like on a Friday and I was in surgery on Wednesday. And so remember, I'm that little girl on the inside, right? So everything you see on the outside is just what I've watched you all do as adults. So this whole thing, this was terrifying to me. And so I have the surgery. I've been given Darvocet for probably a good 6 months at this time because I am having so much pain with my leg. And a doctor finally says to me, I think you're drug seeking. And I'm like, well, I'd appreciate it if you would even call for an x-ray. Okay, something, because all you have done is provide me medication. So I get another doctor. I was at this time in a relationship with a guy who was in med school here in Shreveport. And so I knew some of the guys they had just graduated. And so he decides, I go to him. Everybody knows I'm running all over the place. And so they found it. I have surgery. I struggle through it for about a year with PT. And, you just go, I ran 6 miles a day to stay sane. And now all of a sudden I can't do any of that. And I've got so many drugs, so many, like they are giving them to me. And it just blows my mind to think of it today. I would have some injections at times too. I had piriformis syndrome really bad from it all because I kept running with a mass in my abdomen. And so it just felt like it would never end. In the meantime, life is passing me by. I'm like isolated. I can't do the things I always did. And so they decide, though, to just this new drug, right? It's brand new and I won't have to take all the different strengths. And so I get the old Oxycontin. So I cannot watch, what is that show? It's on Hulu? What's it called? It's about the whole Oxycontin deal.
The Pharmacist?
No, I don't know. It'll come to me. Dope Sick?
Yeah, it might be Dope
Maybe
Sick.
that. I can't watch it because it is infuriating. Now, I don't blame, obviously, yes, there is some culpability to the doctors and these people that sent out, so many of us got pulled in with that drug. There is culpability, but what I'm telling you that I know for sure is the way I have been my whole life, full of fear, not really sure about how to do anything but survive, trying to figure things out for myself, masking, not being able to truly let anybody see who I am. Totally terrified. Now, were some experiences in my childhood or in my early adulthood, did they kind of exacerbate that? Absolutely. But I really just came built that way. So that's where it kind of took off for me. I was engaged. That engagement ended. I ended it, because that's what I do. And now I had pills. So who needed a boyfriend? Or a husband. And then that became just an issue and I became isolated and it was just such an awful time. And then we kind of realized something's up. And my doctor's like, I'm not doing this with you anymore. People are yelling at me, screaming at me. And I'm like, well, it wasn't, I'm bewildered. The bewilderment, that 4 horsemen fella, don't understand what has happened. Why can't I stop? I can go out there and run. I've been running marathons. I'm doing triathlons. Like, why can't I set my mind to doing something like that? And I can't just stop taking the damn pill. And I never wanted to harm myself, but I wanted to die. I would just think about one of my best friends passed away. And I thought I would think, I kind of wouldn't mind, Then the ex-fiance passes away. And then my mother got really ill. And of course, what can I not do? I cannot adult up. I cannot live life on life's terms. However, you are not allowed to know that. I have got to keep it up and looking good at all times. And I worked really hard at doing that. And so anyway, then I had to go to my stepdad had open heart surgery in like March of one particular year. And I'm in my 30s now. I'm in my mid 30s. And so Rion's passed. I've had some other, my best friend had passed, some things that had come up. Had this surgery. I am struggling with these pain medications. And I'm taking his pain meds. I mean, his chest is only cracked wide open, but I need them. And I'm taking them. And man, that was a bottom for me. It just sucked. And school was about to get out. Oh, also, I'm out there educating your children. It was super. Doing a really good job, though, because at first those pills really were my solution. And then my dad, he got rushed over to the hospital. He was having open heart surgery. And I had an appointment with my therapist that day, and I said, I cannot. You got to do something because I'm going to steal his pills, too. So I ended up in Palmetto and was there for 90 days. Of course, most everybody in my family super supportive and worried. Nobody knew. My best friends were like, what's going on? Because that's how good I was at faking it. That's like how I could just mask anything. You would not know. And I was exhausted. Those pills like helped me breathe at first. I could breathe. I wasn't worried about all the little details of trying to just maintain. And so I went to Palmetto. And like I was talking, earlier, that almost when I left there, I kind of left with more things to hide because now that had been cracked, right? And I had spent my entire life building that facade, that mask. I had spent my entire life. It's the only way I knew to survive. And you just cracked it wide open. And you're sending me right back out there. And now I don't even have that to protect me. So sobriety was not something that I was able to maintain. I lived over in Monroe. My parents had moved my stuff over. They lived in Sterlington. And so I was teaching the Katrina overflow, more trauma, give me all the trauma, newly out of treatment, no idea how to handle anything. But I got to get right back into it, try to really quick, and fool everybody into thinking I've got it, and I don't. So I really struggled a whole lot, I never thought I had improper behaviors with men, I really didn't. Like I always had relationships that I just then sabotaged, and so all this wait a year stuff, like what was that? So, anyway, I proved to myself that that's also probably a problem I could easily have, and had bounded myself to one that was barely sober who ended up stealing my car, robbing some people, having big thing. My gun was in the car. I don't know. So what I felt was...
Oh, yeah, hell of a weekend.
Yeah. And I was at home asleep because, I'd had a Xanax, so why would I go waste that somewhere else? And but still needing it to look good. I have the cutest little apartment and had a really nice car and I have a job. And so, but I am a wreck. I am a mess. So, there was so that happened, but right before that happened as well. So there was a series of little events that happened. I had taken an Ambien because I had a cold and it's hard to sleep, when you're sick. And, I took the Ambien and went to sleep. It was summer. I had on a wife beater and my underwear and ended up going on a walk in the neighborhood. People from AA live across the street from me. People from AA live behind me. People from AA live 3 houses down, and I go knock on their door, and I have no memory of any of this. So I don't know what I'm talking about. He calls somebody to make sure. He's like, oh, she's taken something like an Ambien or whatever. Just walk her little tail right on back across the street and put her in bed. So they did. Yeah. So y'all, that was a crack. Like, that people saw that I was not together.
Yes.
I mean, literally, I wasn't just not together. I was outside in my underwear, okay, knocking on your door. And then my little fella Oh, he's a little young one because I've loved him. Still, no, I don't struggle with that anymore. I'm recovering from that as well. But he, steals the car, does all that. It's all over the news. It is everywhere. It is, So anyway, I decide I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move back to Shreveport because that's where I know sophisticated, civilized type people, not just people from recovery. Because that's probably the problem, right? I moved to Monroe and all I knew were people in recovery. So if I got away from that, I could certainly pull it back together. And all I did was come back to the same problem that I had when I'd left, Everybody's moved on with their life. I'm still a part of it, but it's still not feeling that thing. I'm still feeling super alone, super afraid. I have a job lined up, and then it finds out that our little person who was over personnel in Caddo Parish. So basically, I'm blacklisted out of Caddo Parish schools. That's illegal. It's not supposed to happen. There is a list. It had my name on it, and but whatever. And so I go to the union. We're about to, Gory, he's flying in. We're about to go to the news. And it was because I had missed some school. I had waited till the next year because they won't let you hold on to your medical insurance, right? So I had to just let the next school year start for 12 days. They had to have a sub so that I could maintain medical insurance. So it was set up for you to turn around and mess them up. So... But anyway, thank God, though, because I'm trying to be ready to be sober again. I'm in therapy, and I'm on a great antidepressant now. That's going to fix it. And I moved back where the civilized people are. And my job, they end up making a lot of money. I'd go down to Mansfield. It was during the Haynesville Shell stuff. I made some good money, got all myself situated. So thank God they didn't let me come back because I would have ruined it. I mean, I was not prepared. I was crazy. And so I worked down in Mansfield a few years, and then I had a neck surgery. So we all know that was just, I was back off to the races, drinking and pain pills. And my neurologist liked to give Valium, so those were on the table too. And I have the surgery, and I'm back at it. And I'm feeling... At this point in time, I'd always wanted a child. I had an opportunity to adopt within my family, and they think I'm fine because that's what I'm good at, making it look like I'm okay. And I knew I had to pass on that, and that broke my heart. I'd had an opportunity to have a dream fulfilled that I always had, and I knew I couldn't do it. Thank God I knew I couldn't do it, and because normally I would just barge right on through. And so I'm suicidal. I'm having random thoughts like, you should just get your gun and shoot yourself. Like just intrusive thoughts. So bizarre. I had no plans or anything, but I'm feeling super alone. I'm missing work, and I'm about to be dismissed from that position as well because I've missed so much work in Mansfield. And so I drive myself. I go to my doctor. He said, you're going to just have to take yourself to Brentwood. I don't think he thought I was going to do it, but I did. And I drove myself there. And I remember my mother saying, is it that bad? And I'm like, I'm at the gate. I'm at the gate. I couldn't do the basic things. I couldn't get my inspection sticker changed. I couldn't make sure I had groceries each week. I just couldn't do anything. And I was exhausted from trying. I could not pretend anymore. I could not maintain it. I would think about, because I would drive down to Mansfield to teach, and I would think about crossing the center line. And all this time, I'm managing drug use, right? I am managing it. Sometimes not great, sometimes better. And when on weekends, I would even get Ambien and start taking it as soon as I got home from work. And every time I woke up, I took another one. And if I woke up again, I took another one. And I would sleep constantly until I had to get up and go to work on that Monday. That's as close to dead as I could get, And so I go into the psych floor because I'm suicidal. And I do tell them I have a problem with addiction. And So I'm there for a bit, and I cried for 2 straight days. That's just what I do, finally. It's like it just finally, I've like been pulling it together so long, and then the floodgates open. And they're trying me on every kind of combination of stuff. They're telling me I'm bipolar. Well, I mean, if you meet anybody that's trying to manage drugs and alcohol,
They're all bipolar.
they're bipolar. They have bipolar symptoms, but that doesn't mean they're bipolar.
That's right.
But they're treating me for that. They're treating me, for all that stuff. I'm kind of leveling out. And then I get off the elevator, and there's this really cute guy standing by the nurse's station
At Brentwood.
at Brentwood.
Was it you, Matt?
It wasn't me that time.
No.
She said cute guy. So,
I missed that part.
And oh my God. Here's the thing: is it didn't occur to me till after I'd been sober, right about 6 months, that was the psych floor. Not the chemical dependency floor, like psych floor. So anyway. So he, of course,
True
is
love.
pursuing me with, and so it's just like, it's another drug. I'm not alone. I've been so alone, so afraid. And, it was just, I know it was a disaster. Okay. Let's just go ahead and say it like that. But, I've become just as addicted to that. He's with a woman, has children. They're not married, but, she treats him terribly, guys. And so I understand him. And so anyway, it just goes from that bad to worse. I learned a whole lot about doing drugs in a whole different way, how to mix my certain alcohols with my drugs. I mean, I learned a lot from this fella, and I was a willing participant. I mean, I was showing up for school. And so that kind of took off, got out of Brentwood. That was it. We were attached. He left her, came and lived with me. I lost another job. I was asked to leave. They're very nice about that in the school system. Like, you're going to quit today. Okay, I will. And I had lost that one. I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I was at my spiritual, physical, at the rock bottom. But the only thing that really, honestly, it's kind of like our drug serve as a way of helping us survive for a point in time, and alcohol. So did he, because I think I would have died in that. But there he was. So as toxic and as insane as it was, as harmful as it was to myself and to him, it just kept me alive a little longer. I'm certain of it. And so we graduate to some more like street drugs, Like, I'm a little proper pill popper. Like, I'm street drugs. What are you talking about? I'd never even done cocaine or anything, but man, I did it all at this time. And then cocaine's expensive, so it goes on to some other things. The lesser version, like the methamphetamine. And I remember crying the day we got that and saying, I can't take this. This is trash. Do you see what we're about to do? And he says, well, don't take it. And I'm like, but I can't. I can't not take it. Like, I'm just locked in and complete, utterly hopeless. All those, was it terror? What we were just talking about, terror and
Bewilderment.
Yeah, bewilderment.
Frustration.
Oh my God, every bit of it. And despair, complete despair. I was so lonely. And it was really scary. But in the back of my mind, I kept still thinking, if I can just get this like this, or if I can just get us here, or if I can just do this, or get that done, or this job, or fix it like this, and everything would just, it would just, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, just go away. It would just be, it just wouldn't work. Yeah. So, he gets arrested. So that's pretty great. And so it is kind of great because it does start to, kind of interrupt. Like, he is in psychosis most of the time. And I am just trying to stay on top of that so I can keep him off roofs and from getting out there and getting arrested and trying to keep us at home. And it's terror. It's absolute terror. We have no lights. I am 87 pounds and I'm about to die. I mean, my potassium is at a low. So he calls someone and says, you got to come and get her. And they come and get me and they take me off. I go to a treatment center. Now I'm an indigent, no more Palmetto Country Club. I'm an indigent. And so they take me there. I kind of get a healthy weight going again. And, kind of like all I could think about was what was he doing and what was happening. And I get out and I get home and my house is destroyed. I mean, I don't even know how to put that into words, but I go in, I have no electricity, and it's cold, and I get under the covers, and my friend brings me an Ambien. I mean, I just got out that morning, but I've got to sleep, and I'm in my bed, and it looks like it's just been ransacked. It's awful, and I get in there, and I go to sleep, and the next morning, somebody's knocking on the door, and it was him. He'd just gotten out of jail. So we were right back at it, right back at it by the end of the day. And so that lasted about a month till he got picked up again. And I finally just kind of called my parents and said, can somebody come and get me? And I had just told him we had come back home and I had told him, I have got to call my family. We're going to die. I can't do this. We're going to die. And they came and got him. And then my parents came a couple of days later because they had to wait till somebody else could come with them because they were afraid of me. And that's just mind blowing, where the disease can take you. They were completely afraid of me. I was erratic. I could be violent. It was just insane. So I went home, lived with my mother for a bit, which was never a good solution, ever. We tried it a few times. And I got a little job and I have nothing. My car is gone. It went to, I don't know, to some bail bondsman. And I'm still stealing her pills, or I'll make a little bit of money and I'll buy something. Or, of course, there's alcohol I can get to. And so I thought that lasted for 3 months, 3 or 4 months. It was really about a month. I thought that time period really drug out. So she throws me out. She has found one of my notebooks from rehab where it says I've chewed on a fentanyl patch in my lifetime. And she has them and she thinks I've taken hers, which I haven't. But okay, so there's this one time I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so you should believe me. The police come and the policeman has me stay at the neighbor's house. I don't know her at all. And I said, she said she just has her bedroom. She has a king size bed and I have to sleep in the bed with her. I don't know her. That's the only place I have to go. And they were so kind and got me to work a few times. And so in that period of time, there had been a girl I'd been in rehab with that I'd seen on social media was in a sober living house, Oxford House. And so I called her and had an interview with them. And then I got some numbers for some Oxford houses in Shreveport. And my little Brentwood love was also in an Oxford house. So I had gone over to see him and I kind of saw, and it just seemed like, okay, this is something I could do. And I interviewed and I got in. My sobriety date is April 27th of 2013. And that's the day I moved in to Oxford. And it's like I told him, I cannot be out here and stay sober. So I've got to be somewhere safe. I'm really ready to do this. And so that's what I did almost here at 11 years ago. I was so broken. So I showed up with a bunch of paint because I thought I was an artist, y'all. Thought I was an artist. Thought I was a painter, a muralist, you would say, in children's bedrooms that I never did anybody. Well, yeah, I did do one, but anyway. So I showed up with my paints and some clothes. I'm 93 pounds. I'm a mess. And they take me in. And I start doing the thing. And I remember just feeling just an opportunity I could breathe. It was still a really first year of sobriety is super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it did mean a lot to feel safe. And my parents, I'd made that decision to stay a year so that they could finally, because, they didn't even know what to believe anymore. I could trick them so easily. I mean, it was just, they were done. And so I'd made that commitment to stay a year. And I remember I had about 30 days, and I am frustrated. I am in despair, and I don't have any drugs or alcohol. And I know I can't kill myself. I can't do that. And I really can't go out there and live, in the streets, riding around in the car with the drug dealers like everybody else is doing. That was just not something I was going to be able to do. And I didn't know what to do. And so somebody had shared in a meeting. Now, mind you, that little girl that's always scared doesn't want you to know who she is. I don't say anything. I only present to you what I think you need to see. I'm cracked open, right? I am busted wide open. And in that moment, they called on me about something. And I've heard from other people that it was like anger. And I thought I was just really upset. But because I never showed anger either. That was not very useful to me. Not with a mother who rages. You don't show anger. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. Everybody comes in here. They talk about how they got help and how people reached out and showed them that. And I have been in and out of these rooms and I can't do it. I think I'm constitutionally incapable. I cannot figure out how to do this. I can't kill myself. I can't go live in the streets. I have nowhere to go. I don't even have a car. I walk to this meeting and I don't know what to do. And I don't feel like I matter. And I don't even know why I'm trying to do this. And so I got a lot of good feedback in that meeting that night. I had right at 30 days. And I got a lot of really good feedback in that meeting that night. I'll never forget that night. And then the next week I came back, and I can't tell you that next week got much better. But I got through it, and I made it to the meeting again the next week. It was the Southfield meeting on Friday nights. And one of the men who's kind of always been at that meeting, at the very end of that meeting said, LaDon, we'd like to hear from you and hear how you're doing, because we've been praying for you and you matter to this group. And so it changed everything for me. Did I still feel great? Did I walk out feeling cured? Absolutely not. Was I still completely uncomfortable? I was. But that's when I realized that I could not fake it. I could not tell you things you wanted to hear. I could not pretend. I had to be honest and real. And really, that first year, that meant I was kind of a lunatic. And, you might want to stay away from me if you were super healthy. But I just did. At that moment, for the first time in my entire life, I've been able to get honest, tell you the truth about where I am. I don't really care what you think about it or what you think about how I look about it. It does still get very uncomfortable. Being vulnerable sometimes is really tough, especially, now that I'm out. I bought a house and I'm employed. I'm on the commercial OK for Caddo Parish schools. I was blacklisted from those schools. I got back in through a long-term sub position, and I never missed a day of work. So then they had no grounds. I was so good, they had no grounds. So I got back in. God just took care of it. I lived in a sober living house that was a block from a school that I could long-term sub in.
Wow.
I worked at Barnes & Noble. I worked at Pier 1. I walked everywhere and got a car at about 14 months. And I had that old boyfriend in and out of Oxford too, with new girlfriends and a car. I didn't have a car. And and I never slid its tires, okay? I never did it. I had to walk right past that car while he went to pick up another girl and take her a ride for work. I walked to work and walked right past that. We just learned that I could do really hard things. And so, it's when it turned around. It's when I just decided to give this thing everything I had, to be as real and honest as I could. When I see somebody in a room falling apart and opening up and sharing in a raw way, I know that they've got a chance. And when you're sitting there and you're just wound tight and you're looking at all the differences or even some of the similarities, or you're worried about how you look or how you sound, if you're worried about what you're going to share, if you're worried about knowing what the big book says, if you're worried about any of that stuff, which is how I always was before, I couldn't get it. It just takes being brave enough or desperate enough to just show people right where you are, and then just trust God through it, whatever that version is for you. And I was not on speaking terms with God when I got here because I felt super abandoned and betrayed because I had done things right. I was a good girl, and he just let me down. And that's how I saw it at the time, when it was really me that let myself down. And, I got in, I worked the steps. I got really real for the first time ever. I picked a sponsor that was absolutely beautiful and everything about the people that I used to hang out with before. And I did that on purpose because those are the people I always had to present. I felt like I had to present to, right, to maintain. Like I used to be in the forum, in the social section. At one time, I picked somebody that looked a lot like that. Had some time too, like over 10 years of sobriety. And I did that so that I could just get real with somebody that I was the kind of person I was always trying to impress, And I got real with her. I received a lot of love. I made 90 and 90 meetings. I made 90 and 90 again. I got involved. I had to get involved to maintain, living in Oxford. And then when I got out of Oxford, I got involved in AA. I worked on committees. I did a lot of service work. I felt alone and on the outside a lot. I can still sometimes feel like that. And I just still showed up anyway. And it took care of itself. And it got better one day at a time. It just got better. My parents got sick. My mother got the flu and died suddenly. And I drove over there. She was in Monroe, and I went to a meeting there where I had tried to get sober in Monroe. Those poor people. I used to think they were judging me. I left because they were judging me because I walked in the neighborhood with my underwear. And
I remember that's when I met you.
Yeah.
Right,
You were coming in when I was coming out.
You know what I'm saying?
You guys were judging me. And so now what I know is they were loving me. God, they were loving me because they were just putting up with me. And but I remember going to a meeting and this guy saying, the day my sobriety becomes about me, I'm out there again. My sobriety is about being able to be of service to others. And so I don't know. I was shaking that entire meeting, and that you were at that meeting. I mean, I shook, and I knew everybody in that meeting thought I was high or something. And so I did speak up and say, "My mother is here. My mother is dying, and I'm just here," And then that guy said that, and I was able to just go back and be an adult. Remember, I could never do that, and especially with my mother. My mother was such a powerful kind of person, and be an adult, not just her kid. I could make the decisions that needed to be made, and I could trust God and let her go, and walk through all that had to be done after that. Women in Monroe recovery surrounded me, people I didn't know. And my people from Shreveport showed up there in droves all the time. And I saw really for the first time what people were really talking about how this program works and how we don't have to walk through difficult things alone. And I've had to do that a few other times, So I've lost my dad, my grandmother, my brother. And I've had some good stuff, a home. I bought a home. Man, that was like a huge AA community celebration that day. And I got a car. And people have helped me. I got a new car recently, like people just cheering me on for the good things that I've been able to accomplish and do. And, this program works. It takes getting honest with a person. It takes showing up in seats. It takes working steps and getting really honest with yourself and continuing to do the thing and be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing to grow and continue to stay open and honest and willing. And sometimes, even with years of sobriety, you don't want to do those three things. And so when you're asked to come and share your story and do something that's kind of scary in a new way, you say yes. even though, you're shaking in your shoes, you just do it anyway. My life is better. I mean, I don't know about that. I'm a grateful alcoholic stuff. I'm grateful I found a solution, because this solution has been a solution not just for my drug and alcohol problem, but for my me problem. It is a solution for every problem I meet today. It's given me a new relationship with a God of my own understanding, a new relationship with myself. And so I'm just able to look at life and walk through life in a completely different way than when I was checking off the boxes. Because, I was always trying to, I'll be a marathon runner. I'll get a master's degree. I'll be a teacher. People think that's cool. I'll be skinny. I'll be, whatever. I'll go to Paris. I'll be liberal. I'll be whatever. I don't know. I'll just pick a thing, trying to control how other people saw me or how they related to me or I related to them. And I just don't have to do any of that anymore. Going to bed every night honest and not lying and not being fake is just such a great gift that this program gives me, along with the fact that I'm not killing myself daily with drugs and alcohol. So it's saved my life. It's given me a life. And I can't ever say no to sharing that with somebody. So thanks for listening to me.
Thank you
and
for sharing.
having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, LaDon.
Thank you.
I, for one, am grateful for you and everything about you. I love you.
I love you too.
So like
whole bunch.
I got out of this with all of that. This is what I got out of this, and I hope that people hear, because we say it over and over again, and you just reiterated what we all say. You went to 90 and 90. Then you went to another 90 and 90. You did served on committees. You did serve. You took action even when you didn't feel. Your feelings were not feeling it, but you did it in spite of that.
Oh, terrified, not feeling still a part of, because that would be another thing that would run me out of rooms before, right? Was that because people in Monroe were judging me what they weren't being my friend. That is not true. I had to just let go of all of those old beliefs and old ideas and just kind of start anew, and just say, I'm going to sit right here and one day it won't feel this bad.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And isn't that cool, that AA moment where it's kind of like the cigarette lighter in a dark house when the guy talks to you and said you matter and all that stuff, and it's like no power, it's dark, and then bang, just a little bit of light, and it's just enough to see just a little bit, and it kind of lights up from there. But I mean, we talk to people all the time, and it's the same thing. I tell them, do this. This is what I did. I know that it works. And I'm just glad you said that and brought it up. So thank you for coming on today, too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
LaDon, thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. As always, love to hear people's stories and how they, man, it's just so nice to hear so many different stories, isn't it? Over the time.
Yeah, but just the same.
Yeah, all the personalities and the stuff, and then it all comes back to those same few things,
It all culminates with a guest spot on the Grouch and the Brain.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's only up from here, man.
That's right.
I mean, things are about to get real different for me. I feel it.
Yeah, the fame.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the fame.
You won't have no trouble picking up boyfriends at Brentwood.
Yeah,
now
I'm about
that
to
you're
get a
famous,
healthy man, and I'm about to get a decent paycheck. It's
I
coming.
have a friend who's not one of us, but he says he's going to start looking up that area. He said he may be lacking there. It's an overlooked area. So good luck to him. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, so from our studio here, we do appreciate all the listeners, and we will see you next time. This has been The Grouch and the Brainstorm.